Right, guys, so new Banlist season. What am I going to be doing with Rescue Ace before Phantom Nightmare? And here you go. Here's my build. I think it's going to be pretty awesome. Now, as you can see, the major change now is I am playing the Horus engine. I have not upped the witch count, and I will explain why I haven't upped the witch count. But I do think this is probably going to be one of the more consistent, more effective Rescue Ace builds we can do moving forward. I did look at the Horus engine previously in Rescue Ace. I think it was good. However, before, it felt as though we had better options as opposed to the Horus engine. And so for me, it didn't feel like it was needed. Now I do think, though, we're in a bit of dire straits, only having one airlifter, and so it's nice to have a little package that can go in the deck, doesn't increase the deck count too much, doesn't add a huge amount of bricks, but does the job that really is needed with Rescue Ace. So, what does the Horus engine do for Rescue Ace? Well, to start off with, you have the 3 Umseti and 1 Sarcophagus, and these are all pseudo starters. The nice thing about these cards is they help Rescue Ace in 2 different ways. The first being that they can go into Zombie Vampire if needs be. And going into Zombie Vampire is helpful because it means that you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different cards that you could potentially mill to start your engine and rescues, which I think is really, really good. That's a lot of cards that if Zombie Vampire hits, you're playing the game again. Oh, you have Airlift as well, so it's more than 6 or 7. The other thing about Zombie Vampire as well, or not Zombie Vampire, but the Horus engine, is that Rescue Ace is a deck that often wants to discard some of the fat monsters so that it can play. Sometimes you'll open things like Turbulence and Preventer, and all you need is a way to get that engraved. Now, you could up the witch count, but the problem I have with upping the witch count, and this is even the issue I ran into before, is that which is just fundamentally another copy of Hydrant. And you actually do see Hydrant fairly frequently. You have a lot of ways to get to it. You have your 3 wanted, and you have your free Hydrant, and you have Witch herself. Increasing the amount of Hydrants doesn't actually make your deck that much better, because especially going second, you don't really want to see Hydrant. It's very easy to stop. A hand trap on Hydrant ends your turn a lot of the time. Now, sometimes your opponent wouldn't hand trap it before, because they're scared you would have an airlift in hand. Now, if your opponent is smart, they know hitting Hydrant is a very good choke point because it's likely you don't have an extender. Stopping that Hydrant search is huge if you don't see emergency. And so I like the Horus engine because it provides different ways to different outlets for your engine to still function. Playing 2 Turbulence becomes hugely more valuable now because it's nice. You might just have a random extra Rescue card in hand, and that means that if they stop Hydrant, but you somehow have other Rescue cards in hand, you can still potentially play by discarding them with the Horus cards. Another thing I like is the Horus cards can kind of resolve themselves into a negate. So they can become a card like Photon Lord if you don't need them. So let's say, for example, your opponent didn't hand trap you, or you opened Hydrant, or you opened Wanted, or whatever already. Well, now your Horus cards can potentially protect your Sinful Spoils from Ash, or protect you from Droll, which are going to be cards you're a lot weaker to. Now, another thing the Horus engine does, which I think no other engine has the ability to do, and this is not super consistent, however, it can do it, is that it does help you OTK on the crackback and increase your grind a lot. The Horus cards, if your Sarcophagus stays up, this is putting an extra 5,400 damage on the board for free. You don't have to do anything. It just puts the damage on the board for free. You just keep summoning them out, which is very, very useful. In addition to that, these Horus cards actually have pretty good effects on fields, especially Happy. One of the things you'll find is people will love to kind of blind remove your background Rescue Ace. If they do that with Happy on the board, you're going to get cards back to your hand because Happy adds 2 cards that are banished or in the graveyards, either put them back in the deck or adds them to the hand, which is very good. So this means if your opponent does something like pop a random card, well, you just have Happy on the board and now you get 2 cards back. So they have to prioritize removing these Horus cards sometimes, which is very, very good in the grind. And then also just outing cards. So again, on the crackback, one of the challenges you're going to run into is not having both Airlifter and Hydrant access sometimes on your turn 3 means it's harder to OTK because you only really have the Hydrant Preventer line to OTK. Well, now you already have 2 bodies and 5.4k damage. You only need to do 1 or 2 more summons now to OTK sometimes, or you can very easily get into access code. So, how does this change the extra deck? Not too much. One of the big changes that I'm going to start doing in Rescue Ace is I really do think Nightmare Phoenix is useful. I thought this before, to be honest. The Horus cards don't really change this, but I do like Nightmare Phoenix. I think that SP Little Knight is not consistent enough to rely on for back row removal. It's a very good card when you get tempo, but before you get tempo, sometimes you just need to out a card, and Phoenix does that job very, very well. As you can see as well, I've added in Photon Lord and I've added in Zombie Vampire because these are good, and I've also added in Barone because the amount of times it's come up for me where I just have a random Witch and Ash in my hand or something, but I still have combo, and it would be nice to just make Baron, it comes up way too commonly for me, so I am playing that. Now, for now, I am playing Zeus. I don't think Zeus is actually that good. I'm testing it out. I think the Wind Charmer is probably really good to play because of Happy and Baron shenanigans. So obviously, if your opponent has a Baron in grave, you summon Happy, you make Wind Charmer, you summon Baron, you've just gotten a free Baron. I think that's so valuable, and so that's why for now I'm playing Zeus, but I could move to the Wind Charmer because I do like the Charmers in this deck a lot. They do have a lot of value. Now, in terms of the extra deck, what are we thinking? Well, I don't think the format changes much, but I think the way we play this deck does change. One of the things that I started doing before, and I'm going to carry on doing, is putting the Impulse package in the side deck. This package is actually just so valuable, but not in every matchup. And again, you don't want to clog your deck with cards that don't do anything straight away, basically. Every card in my deck, I want to be high impact. And right now in my deck, I already have a bunch of cards that don't do anything if I draw them by themselves. So you've got the Happy, you've got the Traps, you've got the Field Spell. I don't want to add a bunch of impulses and attackers unless I'm definitely going second and it's like I know these are going to resolve into negates and hand traps for me, which is why they're in the side deck and I'm leaving the stuff in the main deck. Droll, Nib, still in the side deck. I was playing Nib in the main deck, however, I do think Labyrinth is going to be very popular, so I think for now, take it out of the main deck. We'll see how the format evolves. And then, yes, Cyclone as usual. Cyclone and Bestials again, more Lab hate. I think Lab and random Graveyard Orcus decks, we're going to be seeing more of those, so it's going to be very useful to have these cards to counter people. So guys, this is my Rescue Ace deck profile, build, whatever. This is my Rescue Ace something for now. I am going to have some more gameplay so you guys can see how this list performs, but I do think it's very good. I do think it's going to perform quite well. And if you haven't already, pick up your Horus cards. These cards are just good. If you hadn't picked them up, if you didn't pick up Imseti when it was 25, you flopped, because it's like 50 now. But yeah, definitely pick up these cards because they are good cards. It is a good engine. It's really just a case of solving them and using them in the format. And I'll have a Phantom Nightmare build out maybe next week, maybe the week after. Like I said, I'm going to see how the format ends up stretching out before doing some more testing on that. But yeah, thank you all for watching and I'll talk to you all soon. Peace.